And we are live. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Mecca of Banter. I am your host this week, Andy Hoover. More than happy to be sitting in the captain's seat. Didn't have a great day today, though, lads. I will not lie about it. I had a rough Monday, mostly in part to St. Louis City and the performance that we witnessed last night in the freezing rain. But we'll get to that. Let's check in with everyone. Winks, how you doing today, buddy?
What's up, brother? Yeah, I'm despite that horrid game last night, feeling pretty good about the weekend overall. Um, yeah, 3 points, but excited to more so talk through the City game for sure. That was shambolic.
Yeah,
Good to see you guys though.
Shambolic indeed. Good to see you. Hen, what's going on, my man?
What's up, y'all? 10 here. It's kind of crazy. We're gonna touch on Manchester United and the City game for sure, but like normally I start off the whole thing with it's a great week to be a Manchester United fan, but I literally haven't stopped thinking about the St. Louis City game. I haven't stopped thinking about it since last night. And similar to you, I hate it. I don't know if I felt physically ill from a game yet. And I literally can't stop thinking about St. Louis City. It's as if it's our Roman Empire. It's like that game yesterday, and I'm disgusted. So talking about it today, we're gonna get into it. But yeah, it's wild today.
I completely agree. Just off the rip, it's like we've done this whole season, and that's what we were treated with. That was
Yes.
the first round of the playoffs. But Nikki, what's up, my man?
Yeah, as miserable as last night was, I had a miserable weekend to start off with Chelsea as well. So, just shit performances from the clubs I support this weekend. Um, I would say happy to be here, but I know you guys will probably rip into me about the Chelsea game, so we'll see how it goes. At Hafey4 on Twitter as always, but I mean, the St. Louis City game, I think you guys kind of said it already, but happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I when Hen asked me to host this one, I was having a hard time even thinking that I wanted to be here in the first place. I was like, dude, it's just I've never felt so sick. So we'll just go straight into it. St. Louis and Kansas City faced off in the first round of the playoffs last night. We were stuck with the 9 p.m. kickoff for the West Coast live television viewing slot.
Wild.
It was 38 degrees. It was pouring rain the entire time, and we got played off of our own park.
Yeah.
Kansas City scored 3 in the first half through some questionable refereeing, maybe. But at the end of the day, they let that one completely go. Carnell got it wrong. We ended 4-1. The over did hit is the only silver lining that I was
In the
able to
first
pull
half.
from this one in the first half. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Hen, whoever, hop in here because we've got some things to say.
The first thing I wanted to hit before we just kind of rip into St. Louis City, the fact that the game was at 9 o'clock on a Sunday really irks me because I think the time and the weather and everything definitely affected the atmosphere at City Park. I hate to say it, but tickets were available for $70 at game time. So some people were not going to show up. If this was a prime time, yes, I'm not going to say even if it's raining at 7 o'clock, I feel like more people are going to show up. But a 9 o'clock game on a Sunday when a lot of people have work the next day, I think is BS. I don't understand why we had that time slot.
The only reason I can think of is because we blew away the MLS in terms of attendance and selling out throughout the season. And so as far from a business perspective, I kind of get it because it's if we have to put a game on that late
I don't think you have
on a
to.
Sunday,
That's the problem. I don't think
and maybe you don't, but I'm still learning the whole playoff schedule for the MLS. But as far as from what I can tell, it's got to be, if anything, it's got to be one of those things what team or teams can we put on that late that we're still going to get a lot of people watching it online and or people showing up and filling out the stands. And I don't think that any other matchup besides, this Missouri rivalry between us and KC would have fit that bill, in addition to the kind of attendance that we've provided as a city all season.
Well, I think that's whack.
I hate it. I
Yeah.
hate it just as much as you do, but that's
I
like
mean,
the one reasoning I could
I
see.
just feel like from an overall business perspective, like the number one seed or whatever, like the number one seed in the MLS should have prime time.
Yeah,
Yes. What are we talking about?
100%.
It's a rivalry
just-
too in playoffs. What are we talking about? I was upset with that. But stemming off of that and into the game, from the get-go, I was texting you guys. I did not like the starting lineup. I thought Carnell got it wrong. I will blatantly say it. I think Stroud is a great sub, but I don't think he should be in the starting lineup in our first playoff game. I think we needed a better midfield. I also think our midfield looked really lazy. Like, I didn't see any energy or any fight, and I don't know what was going on. I think Carnell got it wrong from the get.
So the thing with my point on the lineup is I wasn't as surprised to see it because we had played that lineup previously this year. Like a lot of those same guys and a lot of those same positions. So from my point of view, it was something kind of back to what we'd known. It didn't work though. We had so much of the ball. But it's not really like Kansas City sat in a low block. They picked their moments with their possession. But we had so much of the ball, there was no creativity. But you're right. The what killed us was the defensive mistakes and the lackadaisical defending. Every single goal was a calamity of errors.
Yeah.
From Nilsson to Parker to Blom. I thought Blom had a shocker. There's not really anything super positive that I can pull from it at all. And I don't want to just sit here and list names of guys, but to have Lowen go missing like that is a huge issue.
I think he goes missing because of the lineup. I think us not having three in the middle, like it put him and Blom, it stretched them so much. They were running a bunch, and I didn't like it from the rip. I thought, and then I expected him to make a change, and like his changes were in the 73rd, and like in the 59th, he took our wingbacks off, and I'm like, I don't know if those are the right subs there. Like I didn't agree with some of the decisions that Carnell made in this game.
Yeah, on paper, I guess the only person that I was really surprised to see in the starting lineup was Jackson. And the reason that I say that is because like we play so much better with Giacchini on the field. We've played better with Sam on the field next to Klaus.
I was about
Jackson,
I thought
like
Sam would be it for sure.
You mentioned Stroud off the bench. I don't mind that shout at all. I agree with you. I think he brings on fresh legs, but Jackson, I think he burst onto the scene being like really praised for like that hard work and he can make something happen. He doesn't have the final ball in him. He's proven that all season. Like I think we get a little bit distracted a little bit that, he's quick, he's shifty, he can make something happen, but like he is not a finisher. He's also not a creator. So like when you watch his possessions, they might move forward, but they don't really do a whole lot in possession for the team. So I think he's a young kid. I believe in his future. I don't know why he plays through the middle as a number 10. I don't get that. Like, I think you throw him out on the game, like he takes guys on, and there's that. I think Jackson could thrive in that space, but like I was surprised to see him, and I was shocked to not see a halftime adjustment. I thought
Shocked.
I would have put so much more money than I put on the money line for St. Louis on a halftime substitution of Jackson and Stroud for Giacchini and then maybe even Sam, like however we want to change the lineup, or maybe it was a different winger, I don't know, but like I would have put any amount of money on that happening and it just didn't happen. So like what's hard is like we all know ball. We've watched it, we've played it, we get the game. I couldn't tell you what our plan was going forward at any point of that game. There was no let's get it wide, let's get crosses in, or like let's link up through the middle, or let's overload one side, or let's play a long diagonal. Like there was just no strategy, and it was shocking. It was so hard to watch. And then also like I don't know, I'm kind of like going on a tangent here, but like at different times, I think we've kind of like taken our foot off the gas of being critical of this, but like whenever this season as a whole, whenever we've gone down or whenever we've been playing poorly, we have guys on our team that try to overplay. So like Leuven and Klaus are two of those guys that whenever we're down, they're like, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Klaus almost got away with it a couple of times. He put a
Yeah.
couple of shots in that were nuts, but like Leuven trying to like pick up the ball at the 18-yard box and then cut back to his right foot at 25 yards out just to turn the ball over when all he had to do was just play the ball out wide. Like those are our dogs letting us down. Like that is inexcusable in a playoff setting. So like me, like it was so embarrassing watching that game last night and being there and like feeling like we were going to put in a result and like you mentioned it in your intro, Hoove. Like there were some big guys that really let us down from individual mistakes. It sucked.
The in a lot of times we see a fight back where there's a lot of emotion and a lot of passion, a lot of fight. It felt like that wasn't there either. And this is the third, fourth game in a row that we felt that way. One, like you said, we felt that the game plan, if there was one, was non-existent. There was no objective with the ball and what they were trying to do going forward. But that's happened for three straight, maybe four straight games now.
Yeah.
Where, like, what had to have happened to where we just threw away the identity that we'd had all season to try and change how we play for playoffs? Like, was that the plan?
Like
Uh,
what is the thought there? Like I try to obviously like we sit here every Monday and try to like
yeah.
dissect this thought process, but like we have what makes us successful as a team and then we abandon it and like tracing it back. I mean last week we were critical about how like when we look at the last 15 games we've won like 3 of them or 4 of them or whatever it is. We've dropped points in every single other one and like kind of right around that time earlier in the season we were balling. Klaus gets injured, Giacchini steps up and then like that was going
Yeah.
really well. We were all looking forward to Giacchini and Klaus playing with each other. Klaus comes back, Giacchini gets injured, happens, no worries. But since he's been back in the lineup, since he's been available, Carnell isn't playing Giacchini and Klaus together anymore. It's like Sam's playing up there, or Jackson's playing this second striker role. Like, I don't know what the thought process is and like the personnel decision because like Giacchini, even in this game, like he comes on the field and not like he scores a goal or anything, but he picks up like 6 fouls in the
Yeah.
offensive zone for free kicks in a wet surface where anything can happen. I just like I can't wrap my head around the thought process for that happening. And then also we haven't even talked about it yet, and this might be like a hot take. I don't know. Berkey had a shocker too. Like he did
Yeah.
not have a good game. Like that first goal, guy hit the shit out of it. Guy hits that shot against me. I'm like, yo, maybe
Mm.
tip your cap, but when you watch it from behind, Berkey should have had it covered. Like, I'm not a keeper. Like, I don't know. And on the second goal, I kind of have a little bit more empathy for the guy because, like, what I've learned over time is when balls get shot in the box through 3 guys, you're kind of playing for a deflection. You're like waiting for a deflection. And by the time it gets through the last defender, you're like, you have to react in zero point 0.0 seconds to do it. But like third goal from distance, fourth goal, he just gets hung out to dry on the back post. Like nothing you can do on the
Yeah.
fourth goal. But first and third, he should have done better on. And like again, one of our dogs that kind of let us down. His distribution was terrible last night. Like
Yeah.
passes out of bounds, hitting guys in the back off of a punt, like not good. And I don't want to sound like overly critical or whatever, but it's like you said, like we've watched the whole season of like this team, we've waited for this moment and us like try to going into the playoffs. And like now we're like, are we even going to get past Kansas City, who like at one point in the season we were fucking battering for how shit they were. And now it's like they look like they're them. And we look terrible.
So obviously nothing went right that game, but we can sit here and talk shit and stuff, but something's got to change, obviously, going into next game. So what do you guys think that is? Obviously, the lineup has a lot to do with it, who we choose to play, and hopefully that, exactly what happened causes Carnell to rethink that. But what would you guys like to see next game, knowing that it'll be away in Kansas City? Hopefully we get a better game time and more City fans show up there than KC fans like last time we played there. But what needs to change?
That might be the hardest question. Like I don't know what I saw. There was nothing that I saw last night to build on. Um, I think I think I'm worried about Nilsson and Parker. So
Yeah.
I think you know
Wait, say more about that. Like you said that in the chat, and like I haven't really like fully wrapped my head around it. Like, say more about that.
Taylor Twellman tweeted it, and I don't know how I feel about it yet either, but he said something about how the chemistry between Nilsson and Parker has been a little bit off. A lot of times Nilsson's covering these spaces that he knows to cover as a European trained center back, and Tim Parker doesn't know how to cover him on the underneath side. Like Tim Parker
Yeah,
is way more
Sure.
on the ball, throwing tackles, and that's totally okay if they're on the same page about it. So I think a
yeah.
lot of times they're too distant in the transition, where either Nilsson's stepping up and Parker's not got the juice to get back.
Which we've called out before.
I
We've
was,
literally talked about that before.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say that's the only change I could see, and I love Timmy Parker on corners and providing some energy every once in a while, but defensively, man, his marking and his shape, it's Henry. Every time I'm imagining Corn yelling at us for our line and
Bro.
not being in a straight line, and like Timmy Parker wouldn't play. Like
Yeah, dude.
it blows my mind sometimes the man's positioning as a center back.
So I think Josh brings pace to the back line. I think he brings calm passes out of the back. And Nilsson does too. I don't think I'm discrediting him out of that. But I think just for where we're at right now, it's got to be Josh and someone else, because Josh has the speed to make up for the issues and mistakes that happen between the two center backs. Um, and I don't think he's as risky with passes. I think he's no nonsense. And in this reverse fixture, we have to be risk adverse.
Yeah, it's got to be Josh and Nilsson.
I,
Has to be.
that's what I think. And to be honest, that's what we've said for weeks.
Yeah.
Quote me on this podcast. I know for a fact that we said our best center back pairing is Josh and Nilsson.
Yeah.
I think that has to change. I think you have to see Big Sam or Giacchini.
Yep.
Has to.
They're like Big Sam's done too much to not to have earned that starting job at least for this game. And then play with those guys. We saw some of the best combination play with Klaus and Sam on the field when Sam makes deep runs and Sam's rapid. And he will get into those back lines, into those corner pockets. And then you find whoever's underneath him, Lowen, like Nick said, should probably be higher up the field with somebody else backing him up. And then you've got your creative Brazilian in the middle. Like there just needs to be some cohesion getting the ball to Klaus. Like the ball has to get to Klaus.
Yeah.
And you're right. He will pull things off. Like if we give him enough touches in the box, he'll score some ridiculous goals. He almost did last night too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sick about it.
My thought is also we didn't talk about Markanich. Guy had a shocker, and it was one of the things too. Like we've actually given him a ton of props on this podcast about like how refreshing it is to see him like get into good spaces, make good passes. Guy couldn't pass the ball to save his life. Like I actually felt bad for him, and like I know Nick, you said earlier that like in the 50 something minute you don't want to see our wingbacks being taken off. For me, I was like, this is not his game. Like I love Markanich, and I can't wait for him to play again this weekend, and I believe in him for the future. But like, man, if there was ever a shocker to have, that was it.
I hate to say it, I thought that was one that Carnell got wrong off the rip.
Who would you have rather put there?
See that, and it's funny. That's why I was stopping and thinking of like, is a back five an
I
idea?
I'd be so scared if we brought that fat back five back
Yeah,
because
no,
I
you're.
mean,
I know, and it's funny because that's what I was thinking, and I was like, all right, who am I going there instead? But that's why I said the sub. Like, I don't think we should be picking a left back as our sub when we're down. We shouldn't be subbing our
Dude,
left back
I
when we're
get
down
that.
3 goals.
He couldn't pass the
I
ball.
no, I agree
Like,
with you, but I'm saying like that's a decision from the beginning that I think.
yeah.
Kyle Hebert coming on isn't, Kyle Hebert's fault. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's not a good look. But for me, I'm starting Berkey, Markanich. I'm going Nilsson, Yarrow. Maybe I'm
Jake,
playing Watts.
dude, I don't know. Jake had a tough one too.
Like,
Like
I mean,
I
all four
think,
goals happen on Jake's side. Like, you can't
yeah,
ignore that. Like, all
no,
four goals came from that. And like,
and he was in no man's land.
not every goal was his fault. But when you
No,
look at the four goal scorers and like the four goals all coming from him, like, or not from him, but from his side, like that is something to look at. So maybe I am bringing in Watts, and you say like we're going balls deep, and like that's what we're doing. But like if it's me, I'm playing Blom as like a true holding six, like almost like a 4-1-4-1.
yeah,
Um, Blom as a six, put Leuven and probably Giacchini. Like maybe it's a 4-4-1-1. I don't know. Giacchini in the middle. I'm putting someone on the left, and then I'll put Vasilev out right, and then
Okay,
Klaus
hear me
in
out.
the middle.
Back five, Yarrow in, Lewin, Blom, Vasilev, Klaus, Big Sam up top.
who's our back five? I like who's on
The
the back
same one
wings.
of last week, and then you put Yarrow in.
I think if we do a back five, that's Akil Watts nation.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's
Yarrow
what
Watts?
because Yarrow can cover that like right side.
He'll have enough. He's got enough creativity to
Because
get crossing the
I
wing.
think
But
Lowen needs to be up the field. Like I
I
think
just,
he really needs to be a cam, and that's why I was thinking we have to have three in the midfield if we want that to happen.
I think there does need to be three. I don't know how much. I don't know how much the wide players would be able to contribute to low and being able to get the ball forward. But
Right.
I also like don't have any other options. I don't have any other ideas. Like not, if they put me in the locker room tomorrow, I would ask the guys and be like, "What do you guys
Yeah,
want to do?
straight
Like
up.
How are
what?
you feeling?
Like this is one of those situations where it comes down to like what did we do this season that was the best? Like let's look at our best stretch of run
Mhm.
and who was playing. Like go back to whatever we had when it was there. There's been no consistency.
I also
Like
think as much as we're talking about changing the lineup up, at the end of the day, the guys had to come out and play, and they did not.
yeah, no, they
He
didn't.
wasn't
They
there.
didn't.
None of them.
Like regardless of how much we want to switch up the lineup, like people have to step up in this next game and play better.
I think this team's so interesting too because all three of you, and myself included, if you asked us to list out your strongest English team 11, like I'd have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would be able to throw down 11 guys easily. I still don't know what our strongest 11 is.
Right.
Like I haven't known all year what our strongest 11 is. So, for us to
Which is a
speculate and
problem
see
going into
what we
playoffs.
need, that's a problem, right? Like that you want to have that tried and true starting 11 guys that know their role and know their positions and know the game plan. I don't think anyone did a game plan.
Yeah.
Um, it was a disaster class. So, final question: do we get through in your guys' eyes? Starting next Sunday, I do believe we're at 4 o'clock. So,
I think I think if we win this next game, which I think is a possibility, I do think we have a chance. I think going to Kansas City is going to be hard, but I'm hoping that, like I was just saying, like we have some fire in our ass because we just played so poorly that these guys actually show up to this game. But like I think if it comes back to City Park, we have a really good chance. If I'm being honest.
yeah,
I want to say yes because obviously, like I'm a fan. I just like have nothing to convince me that that's the case, which sucks. But like that's my truth. Getting played off the park 4-1 in the manner that they did, and I also, bro, when Tim Parker scored, I was like, we're so back. Like, we're so back. We're gonna
So
win.
that was the
Um,
hardest I've celebrated any goal at City
same,
Park this year. It
same.
was mental in
That's
the
how you
streets.
respond, and then just after that,
Yeah,
I
it
want
was
to say
so
no,
flat.
we don't. I think we go 0-2, and that's it till next season.
Puke.
I don't know. You guys made arguments for both, and I want us to win so bad, but yesterday was it wasn't like yesterday was bad, kind of like what Hen said was bad, but there's something to take away and improve on the next day. It was just like so
Horrible.
bad that yeah, it's kind of a
We're all
combination of what we've
confused.
all said, like how do you come back from a game like that? Like when I don't know, like what did what did United change after they lost to Liverpool 7-0? Not,
Oh,
and not in a dig way, but like genuinely, like when a team
yeah,
loses, like in such a bad way, like obviously
I mean,
they
straight
they
up,
made a run toward like right towards the end of the year, or into top four. Like, how does an MLS team do that with guys that are way less experienced? Can they do that,
yeah,
especially going to an away game? I don't
if
know.
I remember correctly, they went next game unchanged.
yeah. They went exactly unchanged. They put out the exact same 11, and
That
there you
can't
go. The result.
happen.
Yeah, it can't happen. Ten Hag,
Please
cool.
no.
Ben
No,
Hag,
no.
Man United, yeah.
They know their best players. We don't.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think Nick's take is the best. I think it's hard for us to lose two games at home. So I do agree that if we win next Sunday, I think we get out of this round. I don't think we win next Sunday. To be totally honest, transparent, truthful, not one redeeming quality out of yesterday.
I agree, and
And
I literally think the only thing I'm hanging on is for like the kick in the ass. Like that's literally the only thing I'm holding on.
yeah, I mean that's all.
A
That's
wake
the
up
only thing that
call.
we can. Yeah, like
But
I saw.
what it will do though, is like I think it'll really tell us a lot about like
Who
the
our
the
dogs are.
gutsiness, like the gutsiness of our team. Like, we've seen teams in every single other major sport where they go, they win the conference, they top of the table going to playoffs and they get bounced first round. It happens all the time. Like, and with those teams, you see like, the Blues forever were that they'd win the
Yeah.
trophy every year for like being the best team in the regular season. They'd lose first round of playoffs. Like, is what it is. But like, yeah, you learn a lot about the fight of a team when it gets to that playoff season. When the Blues won the Stanley Cup, they were the worst team in the
Yep.
NHL. And
That's
they,
the thing though, across all sports, it's more about who gets hot at the right
yeah,
time,
totally.
right? Like
Yeah.
super sick that we won the league our first year. Sorry, won the division the first year, but yeah, like the Kings winning the cup that one year, they like squeaked in. I think they were
Yeah.
like a wild card team or something like that.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where it's like, would we rather have won the division our first year or win the MLS Cup our first year? Like I
Right.
think yeah, we got comfortable winning a lot and then decided to start switching things up and then things started going downhill so quick that we somehow hung on to our spot, but
Yeah. It sucked.
Yeah,
we might have peaked too early.
I think we peaked too early. I did leave the stadium a little bit early. I did not make it 90 minutes. I would just like the record to know I'm not the best fan out there, but I was physically,
We all want the team to win though,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's
I was
no doubt in
physically
that.
ill. I was physically ill, and I'm going to be physically ill until Sunday when they get back out at Sporting Kansas City. I have seen a lot of internet of people saying that they're going, and we're gonna, have definitely a good showing of red in that stadium yet again. But we'll drop that for the time being, and hope that we come back on better circumstances next week. So we'll roll into the weekly recap of the Premier League. The first game was Tottenham and Crystal Palace, which felt like, lads, a whole ass week ago. Like Friday, Spurs played a Monday and then a Friday game, which is insane scheduling in the first place. But they went away to Crystal Palace, and after a really frustrating first half, I think just a lackluster, not great performance, they did end up pulling it off with an own goal and some really nice build up play via Ange Ball and Brendan Johnson, his first assist, and Sonny is continuing his Player of the Year campaign with, I think it's his eighth goal.
Big words there, bruv. Big words.
I'm throwing out there, and I've let everyone know. I was like, he's making a campaign to be that guy. But what I learned from this one specifically is that it's another one of those games where they didn't look super great. The game plan, you know what they're going to try and do, and with what we've seen from Ange, they don't back down from it at all. Knock knock, Carnell. But they didn't play great, and they still pulled out the result. Like, these are just the games that continually over the years I've watched them lose or draw or just show up and not play well. But it was never a lack of effort. It was never a lack of fight. They really do go all 90 minutes, and we've seen them win multiple games in stoppage time this year. So I don't have I didn't have a ton from this one. I'm really excited to see some of the youth and people that will come in and start playing more, but it also exposes the fact that Tottenham's really not deep at this point. When we lose Sarr and Basuma for AFCON in January, we're gonna be stretched for players. We're gonna be watching Højbjerg and Skip, but Bentancur making his return from last February and an ACL injury is also awesome.
It's
Mostly
great for
because
the league.
I think he's a fucking dog. I think he's an
He's so
absolute
fun to
dog.
watch.
He's so fun to watch, and I think the injury was super unfortunate because we would have seen him grow into just a ridiculous player. So now it's about making the bounce back. A lot of guys don't come back the way that they were before major injuries like that. So I have nothing but hope and excitement for him and what that midfield could seriously look like if he gets back to his best. I think is top three in the league. It's just absolutely disgusting. But yeah, we'll brush on from that one. But on the other side of London, we did not have a great result. It was 0-0 to Chelsea, 2 to Brentford away at the Stamford Bridge. And Nikki, I'll just let you hop in. I did watch a little bit of the highlights and got an idea, but go ahead.
Yeah. Not really much to talk about. I think it's I'm
You
a
sure, boy?
I'm a broken I think I'm a broken record at this time. We don't play well against these sides. I was telling Hoover before the pod, I did the math and I looked it up. We had, and this is the little small positive I had, because the first 20 minutes of the game we looked very good. We had 9 shots on goal in the first, or not shots on goal. We had 9 shots and chances created in the first 20 minutes. We had a ball hit the post. I was feeling good, but as the time goes on and as we don't see the ball find the net, it continues to happen where the other team builds confidence. And it was, the craziest part was the announcers even called it. Like, they were like, as Chelsea continues to allow them to stay in this game, they're going to find a goal, and that's exactly what happened. They found a goal, then they sat in a low block the entire rest of the game. The second goal was a wide open net because we had Sanchez all the way forward on a corner kick, and they had a wide open breakaway, and they scored. So it was really a 1-0 game, but like, it's a tale of its time, and I feel like a broken record now. And the only bright spot that I saw was in that first 20 minutes. And like, I know you guys will even bash it because it was only 20 minutes, but like, Cole Palmer, I love him. He played in the cam role for us, and I think he really opened us up for only that 20 minutes, because I think the rest of the game we were just not really creating any chances. They were getting a lot more chances on us, and you could literally see the game just completely shift as the time went on, and it's not fun to see. The other thing I'll say is Enzo wasn't in the lineup because he just had a baby boy, I believe. So congrats to him. He just had a baby, so that's why he was not at the game. And then
Shout out Enter Fernandez. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thank you.
Thanks, Enzo. Congrats
A
on the
weekly
kid.
listener, we're happy to have him.
sorry, as a dad, I wanted to give the man congrats, fuckers. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm hoping we play Tottenham next week, which top of the league, and I think we play better against better competition. So hopefully we turn the page past this performance and move forward.
I think Embuemo's a player, though. At the end of the day, Embuemo's good. He
Yeah.
he looked really good in that.
And Wemma might fuck around and get himself a big transfer.
He could get out of Brentford. Brentford's
24.
an interesting one because they always find these guys and then they always just stay consistently okay.
Okay enough to be relevant.
Okay enough, and then they lose a guy. But yeah, that was a tough one. I also saw another thing actually. Brentford's just TikTok was clowning
Yeah.
Chelsea online, which was some top tier banter. But they have won as many. Was it as many games at Stamford Bridge since April as Chelsea?
Yeah.
Which is 2.
Yep.
So
that was another thing that like you could see it at like and hear it at the bridge. Like as the time passed, you could hear it in the crowd, people starting to moan, and like it was just so obvious. Like I hate it.
Yep, and they do face Spurs next, which will be an interesting one. Granted, the Pochettino situation.
Very true.
He's going to get booed, and it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to eat that up. But continuing on to the other side of North London, where they took on little old Sheffield.
Hello, Sheffield.
And this guy who I still don't think is going to be a starting striker in the Premier League did have a hat trick. Eddie Nketiah played pretty well on Saturday. So go ahead and take us through that, Winksy.
I don't know. Tim Sherwood said he could start for Manchester United right now. So
Oh, Tim Sherwood.
I don't know.
He might be able to.
I was about to say, I think you
Not a bad shot.
I mean, he could probably play left wing there right now too. But yeah, man, that Sheffield had like 2 shots on goal, neither on target. Felt like a practice game. Yeah, Nketiah's Hattie, that's like 5 goals in his 10 games in the Prem this season. His third goal was an absolute missile. I don't know if you guys saw that.
It was a missile.
But
yeah,
he received the ball with his back to the goal from Smith Rowe and turned and just like hit it harder than I've seen him hit a ball. Not that he's had like that kind of chance really in the past. I feel like more of his opportunities are inside the 18. But beautiful turn. Sheffield defenders didn't really step up quickly, and he just absolutely laced it. You should definitely look it up on Twitter if you haven't. But yeah, after all the criticism he gets from like fans and media, I think that this was a great way to step up with Gabby Jesus getting injured midweek. And genuinely, he's got great numbers in terms of goals per 90. I think it's like 0.55 or 0.54, something like that. But I think for him, some sort of run of games is due, so he can kind of build confidence when we play better opponents than a JV team. And I know it was Sheffield at home, but he genuinely scored all 3 of his goals like a natural striker should score his goals.
Can confirm his third goal was a banger. Just looked it up. That was disgusting.
Disgusting. Yeah, Declan and Smith Rowe both had assists. Tomiyasu got his first Arsenal goal, which was just fucking awesome because everybody loves that guy. Very well deserved. And I think overall, kind of like one of those games where we haven't had a blowout in recent games like that, and so it's one of those that are a good confidence builder, good to get a lot of players involved in scoring chances that don't necessarily get to normally. So it was much needed, but other than that, there's not much to say. Declan makes his return to London Stadium on Wednesday for a Carabao Cup match against West Ham. Can't imagine he gets anything less than a standing ovation there. And then we visit St. James on Saturday to play the Toonies. So
The
a
only
couple
thing
fun games coming up. West Ham's
Hope he
lost
gets
like their
booed.
last 3, so
the only thing I
no
was
way
gonna,
he gets booed.
the only thing I was
I
gonna
know
say
he won't.
You're on crack.
I know.
was
What's
I
up?
think it was a big statement game for you guys after you guys had what you claim to be a stinker of a game against Chelsea.
What everyone but you claims.
5-0.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's like one of those things that we played you guys and then we won our Champions League game midweek, so we had that as a buffer, but definitely in terms of Prem games specifically, it was a good bounce back, good statement game, and exactly what should have happened against a team that's going to get relegated at the end of the year.
Yeah, they're tough.
So
Sheffield's got nothing.
yeah, so we just gotta, in those kind of games, you just gotta go out there and get the job done, and we did that. So
Would you say you're in a title race?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we're what are we? How many games into the season?
Couple. 10?
10. So I mean,
2 points off the top.
yeah, I mean, I haven't even looked at the table
That's hilarious.
in the last couple days.
I would say I am not in a title race.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we
No,
have
I mean,
to-
10 games into the season, I think that a lot of teams can still be in the title race.
yeah, definitely with Man City dropping points here and there too. But
It's crazy sorry to interrupt, in the sports
you're good.
books, most of the sports books still have City
Oh,
Yeah.
favorite to win.
I think
no way
that's
Tottenham
safe.
does it.
No, hell no.
No, I
that's
think
a
Tottenham's
safe-
third
Yeah,
in a lot of books.
Sure.
Might be time,
That's
Hoover.
fair.
Might have to invest.
Less money.
You got to do it, bro.
I don't know. That would
I
be
like my money.
wild. So we move on. Arsenal sits in their favorite place on the table at second for
Nice.
the
That
time
is
being.
good,
Tottenham
bro.
sits in an
Yes.
unfamiliar spot.
Yes.
Extremely.
You bitch. Well done.
So we had Liverpool drubbing of Forest. I watched a little bit of the game, turned it off for 2 minutes, and missed 2 goals. So I don't have too much of an interpretation myself, but I did watch Matt Turner get just completely lost in no man's land about 20 yards out of his own box. Missed the ball, landed to, I don't even remember who it was, one of Liverpool's guys, and tapped it in from range, and he did not look good. So T's and P's to Matt Turner and hopes that he turns that back around. He's been a pretty consistent starter for them. So
Yeah, you shake that one off, man.
hoping to see him jump
T's and
back.
P's, T's and P's.
T's and P's. So the last game of the weekend and really the marquee match, I think we would all say, depending on who you ask maybe, was United versus Manchester City. And Dobes, in his own words, told us to put the mortgage on Manchester City, that which I did, and I would like to thank Mr. Connerson Dobry for that insight. But we will let the other resident United fan who's on the pod today kind of, sift us through that one, Hen. It may have been expected, but
Yeah.
what do we think?
I don't know if that counts as insider trading, but I feel like that's a little sus for him to give that information. And as long as we're throwing T's and P's around, I'll take some T's and P's from
Yeah,
the
you can
Manchester
get
United
some.
Football Club.
You can get this.
The right off the bat, the lineup, bro. Some of them, some of it is a factor of injuries, is what it is. You can only play the guys that you have available. But I think that Ten Hag just got this one wrong, man. And I am a massive fan of Ten Hag's. I really like him a lot. I like his philosophy. But something isn't quite clicking this season. Between whether it's the personnel or just like the way that he's trying to get them to play, it's not working. I thought that very few guys could hang their head high after that game. And to be honest with you, I think Højlund was one of them again that played pretty well. I think the penalty that got given against Rodri that Holland ended up scoring was the most bullshit penalty I think we've seen. Certainly this season. This season. For those of you that didn't watch the game, during a corner kick, or maybe it was a free kick, I don't remember which, Højlund was marking up Rodri, and had his hands on him, just like every single corner and free kick happens in soccer. And Raji went to the ground and they didn't call anything, but then they VAR'd it and went back and called the penalty. And I think every single person watching that game right away, I mean, even in our group chat, like none of you are Manchester United fans, and all of you were like, that's bullshit. That's such a soft call. That's hard to see. But
The
you know,
defender,
from the
you hate it.
get-go, yeah, because what are you
Oh
supposed
yeah.
to do, bro? Like you can't just like let the like I don't know. That's tough. Early in the game before the penalty happened, like we had a couple of opportunities like breaks on the counter where McTominay could have slotted in Hoyland like off to the right for not a tap in, but a pretty high percentage shot, and he just chose not to. Still wanted to be the goal scorer. But it's hard to look at the lineup and say that Ten Hag got this one correct. Evans and Maguire, unfortunately, that's a little bit of who we have right now. Whether Varane's fully back and fit or not, no one really knows, but that's who we have. But Lindelof out on the left and not playing Serge Reguilon is, I don't understand that at all. Playing McTominay as a 10 does not make sense at all. Like, I'm having a hard time understanding the decision making this season as a whole. And I think when I look at it, we're still sitting in eighth and we're a couple points off of, being in that top four spot. So like it's not like full panic button, but like what the fuck did we buy Mason Mount for? Like he can't get
Yeah.
on the field and we spent all that money. And like I don't think that Mason Mount is a bad player. I don't like but like it just makes no sense, Like if he can't get on the field for these big games and we're playing McTominay as a 10, we're not even putting Mason Mount out there. What are we doing? And then you pull off Amrabat at halftime and put Mount on, and then it's like, what is the balance of this team? Anytime I see Bruno on the right, I just automatically kind of chalk it up to we're not taking all 3 points because it just doesn't make any sense. But I again, it's hard to like look at this lineup and look at the bench players available and say like I would have brewed up a different concoction of players, but like I think in this setting, like the loyalty to playing like McTominay as a 10 or him on the field at all or whatever it may be, I just can't understand it. Why we're not playing Bruno in the middle, playing Garnacho as a starter. Once Man City got that first goal, I think it was, all hands off. We literally didn't have another chance on goal the rest of the game after they got that first goal. It was at least competitive the first little bit, but yeah, it kind of went the way that we all thought that it was going to go. And it's just not a good look, man. Like we're playing terribly. We're playing a terrible brand of football, and none of our players are really like stepping up. Onana's had a good last 2 or 3 games, so like shout out to him. But like other than that, we're not doing it right now.
I think you point out the like decision making because from my point of view, or what I guess I thought from a neutral, was that he really was going to bring back that United way
For
thing that you
sure.
guys have, and it was the discipline and the showing up to meetings on time and the training hard and the being a good person, like the Fergie type mystic that you guys have when you were at your best. So I still feel like he's doing some of that, but then when the results and the decisions that he's making on the field aren't matching that style of system
Right.
behind the scenes, I think that causes fraction. Like I think that can tear apart a squad with lesser um, mentally tough guys probably that don't want to deal with this anymore. It's not working. We're not getting results. Do you feel that could be happening, or that may play a role in the future? Do you see him sticking around for a while?
I think we're at this like I think we're at this crossroads, to be honest with you. And I think, like, I hate to say this because I don't have any faith in it just from what we've seen historically over the last 12 years. I think this January window and this upcoming summer window, like, I don't think Ten Hag's going anywhere before the end of the season. Like, I just don't. I don't think that we as a club could afford it. Like, literally, like, I don't think we have the money to like pay him off or anything. Um, but January we get some reinforcements. So like I look at this starting lineup and the back four arguably I think this would be harsh on Delo, but arguably this is our backup or third string back four. Like we have Shaw and Malacia, who both haven't played this season because of injuries. As our left back, we have Reguilon, who we bought, who's still like recovering, and then we have Lindelof. So fourth choice left back. We have Evans and Maguire, who we well know are like fifth and sixth choice center back, and Delo is your number one or number two, depending on who you ask. And then you look in the midfield, Amrabat, Eriksson, McTominay, like not our first choice center midfielders, but like those guys, Amrabat, I think has a chance. Ericsson's fine to bring off the bench, but you can't start him against City. Like it's not the game for it. So I think if we get some reinforcements in January, we might be able to bring in some talent and might be able to do some of that stuff. But like, I don't know, man. Like I agree with you that when like the off-field stuff isn't matching the on-field stuff, it's never going to work out. But like Ten Hag's got to figure some shit out. Like he really does. Because if it continues like this all throughout the rest of the season, he's not going to find himself in a contract extension anytime soon.
Nope, I would agree with you. And I don't know, man. I think you're right about the like not being able to afford it. Maybe not literally, but like, what do you do if you do fire him? Who comes in? Who do you get there? What turns around? What changes?
Like, I mean, genuinely, like, and I'll just call a shout out from the rafters. I think they go for Michael Carrick, who's been
Yeah.
doing a great job with Middlesbrough, but
yeah.
like, I think that that's what they do because I think that that would be like a quote unquote safe bet, or they take a shot on Wayne Rooney at Birmingham City, who's lost 3 games in a row since coming back to Birmingham, who was terrible at DC United. So, like, like, I think that's what
Frank, baby.
No, like I think it would be Carrick or Rooney or one of those guys. But I mean, it might be fucking Graham Potter, dude. I don't know, but like the thing is, like, I want to see this team win. Obviously, like I support them through and through. But they've just been like so dreadful this season. They haven't played a good brand. And I agree with you. Like last year, I know Dobes kind of got some shit for it last week when he was saying that we were one of the best teams in the world, like for a period of time last season. But we really were. We were putting in performances. We were winning convincingly. Like we were playing a brand of football where you were really like, we are back as fuck. And then like, kind of after that period was over, we ended the season pretty shaky, and then this season we've never gotten started. So it's been a pretty tumultuous last couple of months for us, but it's just tough, man.
It is tough. I would know. I share sympathy with both you and Nick. So, yep, they wrap up in the 8th spot, you said. So yeah, we'll just have to take a look to next week, and we will cover those games yet again. So, rounding it out, we had some world football worth noting, some news and notables. Jude Bellingham, truth,
Fuck, bro.
Word.
absolute truth.
Disgusting.
I've seen some. I saw one. I don't know who sent it in, what group message. I think I've seen it so many times. But the statement that I saw that I kind of almost agree with now is Messi and Ronaldo are kind of giving up their throne as the best in the names of football, and I think Jude Bellingham is taking it by the frickin' reins and kind of running with it right now, because boy is he incredible to watch right now.
To set the scene, he scored a double in the Clasico away from home.
20 years old.
Barcelona.
20 years old. Man
Yeah.
has the everything, the persona, like him going forward is like fun to watch. Like I like him a lot.
We did a factor cap or like something like that like last season where we talked about if Jude Bellingham will ever win a Ballon d'Or. And you can go back on that. You know how I feel about him. You can go back on that podcast. I said no because he was like that guy. He ran the midfield. He did all that. But the Ballon d'Or is turning into like this goal scorers competition, like who scores the most goals, who does all of that stuff. And I was like, no, he's just not that kind of player. And this year he's fucking proving me wrong, but I think he's putting the world on watch that he really is that guy. He's playing a completely different position for Real Madrid than he's been playing for Dortmund and England. And he's doing it with the best of them. I mean,
14 goals in 14 games.
Yeah, and then tacking a couple of assists in there, and you got yourself a full like. The stat that I read is he's played I think like 14 games so far this season. He's been man of the match in 10 of them,
10.
which is like literally
It's
slightly
ridiculous.
under Messi numbers when he was at Barcelona. Like, I mean that's ridiculous. And his second goal, the game winner, is like kind of what we've seen from him all season, popping up in the right space at the right time, not giving up on a play, like knowing where to go. But that first goal was like you have no right shooting that ball.
On
Like, I mean,
Stegen.
yeah, arguably one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the world right now, just bombs it from outside the box. So, I mean, I think that if people aren't like you mentioned earlier that Sonny's in his like, player of the year campaign right now. I think Jude
Yeah.
Bellingham's in a Balloon d'Or campaign right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like, I think, and again, it's early doors, like it's, a couple of games into the season, but like if he continues this, like it's going to be hard to ignore because even like Holland has had two, so I think I think he's on 11 goals right now in 10 games, which technically is a better return than Jude is, but he's not doing what Jude Bellingham's doing. Like it's just different impact, different games,
Different gravy.
different gravy.
Gravy.
Yeah, he's the truth, fellas, and I'm glad that we've been on the wave on this podcast for a while now. But man's the truth.
I think we are safe in saying that Holland would have won the Ballon d'Or this year had Messi not existed, which was leading into our next segment of Messi winning the Ballon d'Or, 8th GOAT, best of all time.
Goat.
If he's not in it, Holland wins this one, and I think it wasn't really a competition for second either this year. I don't envision many years in the future where there's going to be a dead set number one. Jude, you're right. Jude's making that case. Like he wasn't going to win it this year. That just wasn't what he was doing. But to turn it around and play, like you said, in this more advanced like free position, he's taking it and running. And you're right. He is more complete than Holland. Holland may score a billion goals, but this guy's doing it on and off the ball, front and back, both sides of it. Like we need to reverse this goal scoring Ballon d'Or type,
That's why there's a top
phenomenon.
striker in the world awards.
Exactly.
He reminds me of Zidane, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I think Zidane is slightly more shifty and Jude's a little bit more powerful.
I agree with
Like,
that.
the mentality, the like persona on the field, the goals he's scoring. I mean, like, he's even adding like footwork to his game that you're like, where the fuck did that come from? There's like one in particular, I think we've all seen the clip where he like picks up the ball like with his back on the touchline. He does like a drag, then a step over, and then like a kind of like a whatever the fuck, like the Iniesta croqueta move. And you're like, where did you pick that up? Like, and then you just watch every interview with him and he's just like a 20 out of 10 of like giving all of the credit to his teammates and how he just wants to learn and wants to try his hardest. And you're like, dude.
You can also the passion he has for Real Madrid, like already is just you can see it. And I think like as a person who's missing that in their club, like seeing that from Jude, like it's like, dang, like I really wish like there was someone on my team that was doing that.
Yeah, for real.
To round it out, Messi does win his 8th Ballon d'Or and is the first ever professional player in the MLS to have a Ballon d'Or. So if he doesn't win the World Cup, in my opinion, I don't think he does it.
I agree.
But the way that he did win the World Cup and in the fashion that he carried Argentina at 36 years old is just reaffirming the GOAT status. There's just no other way. In my opinion, it's been done. The argument's over. Signed, sealed, delivered. This will be his last Ballon d'Or. There's just no way he wins another one. He's not going to play in another World Cup to carry them through to be able to have that kind of level of performance to vouch for that. So I think we're seeing the swan song of the Messi Ronaldo era, which is sad because that was literally our entire lives.
But
But you're right. It's exciting to see Jude, Mbappe, Erling's going to be up there. I'm sure that freaking Viking.
Alien.
Yeah, guy's a freak. But I like these new guys that are coming up too. So we just change how we feel about it. And yeah, Nick, what you got?
The only thing I was gonna say, one thing I don't like about the balloon, and I wish they would change, is like that you already know who's gonna win it before based on who's in attendance. Like, I really wish they like wouldn't tell anyone. Everyone shows up and like they announce the winner. Like,
Or like Fabrizio tweets it, a
Yeah.
day
A week before.
and you're like,
Yeah, he all but confirmed it online. Like, you know,
yeah, I
but
wish
a
there
lot of
was more
people,
hype for us to watch the show so
yeah,
we can figure out who's gonna win. I mean, we all
a
knew
lot
Messi was
of
gonna win.
a lot more people, I think, in today's age they don't really validate the Ballon d'Or quite as much as we used to because
True.
we've seen everything with FIFA and politics in general that it all just ends up being a cash grab anyway. So some of that devalues, but I still think it's fitting and fair for Messi to win this one. And yeah, we're going to see a new cream of crop. For our 10-minute segment here, though, that we are going to wrap up with, we are going to go in a short circle here, and we are going to talk about our most notable Ballon d'Or snubs. So that is who came in second place that should have come in first. And
Or
I'm
just
sure
the
that we'll have
person we
some,
think should have won one.
or just someone within a year that had a good run that may have should have, been higher than they were. Quick shout to Harry Kane, who was he 18th in the voting this year, and he scored how many goals in the Premier League? Like that's disrespectful. But, um, you know, so we'll start here. Who's got one that wants to go off the rip?
I can go.
Hit
Um,
it.
to be fair, I think I've stated this statement many times in the podcast, and I still firmly believe it. I think all defenders get snubs from the Ballon. I don't think they're ever really looked at, and I think they're the most important
Thiago
position on the field.
Silva.
It will not be Thiago Silva. My answer is Sergio Ramos. I think he was snubbed of maybe even two Ballon d'Ors for when he was like when Spain was winning the Euros, he was winning La Liga and the Champions League all at the same time, and he was captaining both sides. Like I was shocked that at one point he never won a Ballon during those years. And to be fair, I'm also a huge Sergio Ramos fan, so that's also why I may be a little bit biased. But yeah, that's my pick because I definitely think defenders deserve more credit in this award, and I also think Sergio Ramos's years in his prime were incredible.
I agree with the defender aspect there for sure, and I would say you ask any Liverpool fan in the world in 2019, Lionel Messi should not have had that Ballon d'Or. It was Big Verge in their eyes, so people would agree with you. Hen Winks.
I'm gonna take another or an even more obvious one in the COVID-19 Dior in 2020. Robert Lewandowski. I think it's still unbelievable to football fans everywhere that the awards were canceled, knowing that guy was an absolute lock, just uncontested. You know, the goals.
It's a good shout.
That was their treble year. Records showing up in big games, complete player. I think that what makes this the biggest snub is because the awards were canceled. I think that, this year's a good example of that, but in terms of people getting snubbed, a lot of times we're able to make arguments for why the guys that won the award did win. In the case of this year, several people thinking Erling Haaland should have won, and us being able to make a case for why Messi clearly deserved it. But that year, there's no way to justify it. It was, just because he got canceled, and at that point
So you
that
went
it got
easy way out.
canceled. At that point, when it got canceled, I think that Lewandowski, when I was reading up about some more in-depth statistics to kind of back up my argument, I think that at that point in the season when it got canceled, Lewandowski had like 21 more goals than Messi at that point,
Yeah.
which is just bonkers. So for me, we've all always been big fans of Liwa and just know how he's absolutely one of the greatest strikers of all time, and so for him to not be able to win the awards because they were canceled that year, but still somehow win the Striker of the Year award, which didn't get canceled,
Yeah.
is beyond me. And we feel for him that he wasn't able to win that.
That one almost felt personal. Like
Did.
it was
Yeah.
almost
That was
like
so
they
weird.
didn't give the award because they didn't want to give it to Lewandowski.
Yep.
It was so obvious, and everyone in the world, and Messi said it at the following year
So
after
so many big
conference.
names were big players, past and
Yeah.
present, were criticizing it.
Messi literally in his speech was like, "This is yours. Like this is your Ballon d'Or lever because you were owed yours last year." But and who you got?
Mine's kind of like a weird thing. And I've seen so many people like debate like the Ballon d'Or in general of like, are they the best player in the world or is it the best season or whatever? It's truly like how you want to define it. And I'm going to be extremely biased here. Um, in 2018, when Luka Modric won the what?
Go ahead.
When Modric won the World Cup, or excuse me, when he won the Ballon d'Or, he won the Champions League with Real Madrid, which obviously he's not the only person that did that. There's plenty of people that did that. And then he went to the finals of the World Cup. He had a good tournament, but when you look at his body of work through the entire season, that was like also now the Ballon d'Or is like calendar year. It's January 1st to December
Yeah.
31st, who has the best year. Um, Back then it was like season. So like when you look at that whole season as a whole, Modric should not have the best season of everyone in the world. And when you like the people that finished behind him, like Griezmann finished like third, Mbappe was second, Messi was fifth, or Ronaldo was second, sorry, Mbappe was third, Griezmann was fourth, Messi was fifth. You could have realistically put any one of them above Modric in that, and I would have understood. But this is where the bias comes in. Messi got robbed that season. If you don't remember, that was like one of this first seasons of Barcelona being an absolute shit show. Barcelona was terrible that season. And if you haven't, I would just encourage you to go back and watch Messi highlights from the 2018 season. Some of the things he was doing and carrying a team of you, by the way, you couldn't even name their starting 11 from that season.
Was Ador Turan?
Yes, like
Yeah,
I mean, it was that level of bad, and he was doing some things that we've never even seen in the game before or since then. He has been the best player in the world since he started back in 2004, but like that was one of the seasons in particular that I was like, the winner didn't make sense, and him not even being on the podium also makes zero sense.
Yeah, and that was mine. I was gonna
Oh,
say,
word.
I was gonna say that Cristiano was robbed
Yeah, fair.
because in the same side of the token, he was absolutely balling, and it was simply just that World Cup performance that bought him that Ballon d'Or. And I know Jacob Krupp. I've talked to him about it too. Felt like a pity thing. Felt
Yeah,
like kind of
totally.
like we need to
Totally.
break the streak. Luka was great. He was on a lesser, not nearly as strong Croatian side, and just kind of carrying them all the way to the World Cup final. So yeah, I agree. And then just devil's advocate, Erling Haaland, dear Lord, Erling Haaland. Um, you could say he's a snub. We can't deny what Messi did.
Yeah.
But to have broken the single season Premier League record for goals and score 56 some odd goals, all competitions over the course of the year, and to not win the Ballon d'Or, that's pretty
And the
insane.
treble.
And the treble, regardless of how you look at it,
Right.
I
Totally.
don't think in the circumstances I'm okay with Messi getting it.
Same.
Um,
I think we're in
every
the
other
same
year.
boat on that.
Every other year, I think he wins it. He has to. There's just no other way.
Yeah, but I also think that like I think the part of Messi's season that's getting undervalued is his season with PSG. Like, yes, they didn't go
Played
very
well.
far. Like, they didn't go very far in the Champions League, but like they won the league, and then he also, by the way, balled out with
Did he
goals
lead the league
and
in assists?
assists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like I mean, it wasn't like he just had a bad season. Like, I mean, his campaign with PSG was disgusting.
Yeah, but anyone breaks the Premier League single season goal record, it's like, what?
Yeah, no, that's just bonkers. And to not be acknowledged. Well, He was acknowledged. He was the top striker, but yep, pretty wild. But that wraps us up for today. I don't think I got anything else. You guys got anything else?
No.
Last thoughts?
Follow us on TikTok.
Follow us on TikTok. Hit us up on the socials. We are pumping out some content, and looking forward to the next one for some more interesting banter and conversations. Thanks again for tapping in, and we'll talk with y'all later. Cheers, lads.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers, boys.